Live at local morning radio, coming to you from the studios of Magic Broadcasting on Laird. This is the Kramer Show. This is the Kramer Show. The phone is now open, and the phone operators are standing by. Turn down your radio when you call. Pay attention and be ready to go. 850-233-9988.
I said, if you're having the best time of your life right now, nigga, yes, sir.
This is Kramer. Kramer.
7:05. We have Scott Major with us today. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. His number, 844-800-LAWS. 844-800-LAWS. Their initial consultation is absolutely free. I think right now is at the point where people need legal representation. That's for sure. Holy crap. I talk to several people every single day that need legal representation. Let me get Mr. Major. Mr. Major, good morning. How are you?
I'm great, pal. How about yourself?
Doing all right. You know, this Mueller report, this has been cooking for, 2 years? And all this fevered speculation, if you will, surrounding the whole Robert Mueller Russia probe coming to a head in a television finale-like moment today. I think it's at about 8:30 this morning.
Absolutely right. I think you'll find that this will be yet another pivotal point in the destruction of the Democratic Party. And I mean that in a very sad and unfortunate way, because I don't think most Democrats feel the way the politicians who are representing them feel. You will get a report that will come out that will say, essentially, in my opinion, that the only reason why they didn't actually find for obstruction is because they couldn't discern from the evidence what exactly the intentions of the president were, and the Democrats will seize on that kind of garbage language to suggest that he engaged in some horrible acts and obstructed justice. I question still legally how president, under the law, can even be guilty of obstruction. There's no such real legal support for that kind of idea. But the Rachel Maddow's and Chuck Todd's and Smallwoods and all the people who are out there who said they guaranteed that there would be an indictment of Trump, and guaranteed there was Russian collusion, and guaranteed all these things, and fed this information as truth to the public, and convinced so many people, including our youth, that Trump was this horrible person, and then tied it in with social media fronts that barred conservative views that had different opinions, or maybe had opinions that were based on actual evidence. It just shows the ultimate tragedy in today's society. It matters not whether you have an opinion one way or the other. Everybody's encouraged to have opinions. But to manipulate, to use the media to manipulate minds and convince tens of millions of people of facts that were false by saying false things, to suggest that there was absolute evidence of collusion when there wasn't, is really horrible. But I think you'll find that there will be a doubling down once this report comes out, and there will be every redaction, which under law would be required, will be accused of being a setup for a cover-up. Let's understand that no report has to be released. Let's understand that when people accused Hillary Clinton the wrongful acts that they believe she was involved with, and the bleach bidding and the stealing and the coordinating with the actual dossier that created this problem, where is all the outcries for those reports? Where's all the outcries for every piece of information? Where are the outcries for the dossier? Let's turn over the dossier, because that really will tell you what happened. Why are they saying that's okay, we should move on and not talk about them? It's because this selective political manipulation of the American public has gone on. And there's got to be a time when this stops and when people start to realize that our political world, our news world, should be a bastion of hope and safe harbor, and not one where it's entirely manipulated by either technology or the liberal media. And I just hope that we can look at this report, and when you see the doubling down, which will occur because none of the news agencies are going to admit that they made a mistake, I think this polarization at first will be a bunch of suicidal people doubling down on nonsense. I think you'll find eventually it will turn the corner and get people more sensible about believing evidence and not believing manipulation and falsity. But I do think you're going to see after this report, every CNN, MSNBC type station, tragically, because I used to like those stations, will spend every waking moment taking every word out of context in order to push their agenda, rather than saying, here's what the report says, you decide as a listener what you think. So I hope that while it's going to result in the doubling down, I hope that ultimately what's going to happen is we're going to find some people accountable. We're going to find out that the dossier was manipulated. We're going to find out that this was a attempted, attack on the presidency and on our system of justice, and that everybody, whether you're Democrat or Republican, will abhor this to an extent that they will say never again, and that everybody is entitled to discourse and intelligence, but not to manipulate, either by congressional fiat or by liberal media, to manipulate the truth into some agenda-based, hack job of an individual. And I hope even if Democrats take office, or if there's a new president, the president's Democrat, I hope they would never do that to a Democratic president.
Look, a couple of points about some of what you're saying. I think that, it was a poor chess move for networks like CNN and MSNBC and any of the other, liberal slanted networks, to really laser focus for the past 2 years on this. And because by doing that, you're giving Trump, whether or not fake news, whether or not there's any validity to that in people's minds, now there is, because we've had 2 years of news stories and high ratings. Rachel Maddow, one of the highest rated network pundits, or whatever you want to call her. She was consistently in number 1 or number 2, beating out major shows on Fox News based on reporting that it's coming. Mueller's report is coming, and it's going to show collusion, and we're going to impeach him. I heard the word impeach. I would like to know how many times in the past 2 years the word impeach was vocalized on CNN. It would probably blow our minds. And so now, running for 2020, all he's got to do is just say fake news. None of it's true. Some of it may be true, but now people are going to be conditioned to say, well, and if you go back and you look at CNN and MSNBC's ratings right now, they're in the tank. Because it was a big bomb. And like I said, it was a chess move, a terribly played chess move. You can talk about it, but you should never report that as basically a fact, as you just said. Second thing is, too, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi have said, no, you really shouldn't have this press conference. Actually, he should testify. All of this is coming to a head, and you're right. They're going to kick that can down the road, and they're never going to let it go. And I think I think it's a bad move. I think they should move onward, start talking about things that have nothing to do with Russian collusion. Get over it. The Mueller report is going to say what it's going to say. It's a very basic concept, and they're just getting it wrong at every turn.
You're right, and I'll go a step further. If you think about the falsity and the false narrative that was out there about this, and then you think about how many times has this news media said there was no crisis at the border, it was all fabricated, it was all made up. When you start seeing this house of cards falling, it's just a tragedy. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm taking a political position, because I'm not advocating an anti-democratic approach. I'm doing the opposite. I think CNN and MSNBC should report the news, allow their opinion people, allow the Rachel Maddows of the world to come on and say whatever opinion she wants, just like Hannity does and other people that are strongly viewed on one side or the other, but to not have an entire network dominated. I think the idea of selling socialism, the idea that young people are going to vote for you, okay, and that but by lying to them and tell them that socialism, like Venezuela, is the greatest program in the world, is incredible. But again, I think that all this stuff and the failure of the Democratic Party to have an agenda, I think will be their undoing. I think that there's one thing they should be doing. If I were a Democratic strategist, all I'd be talking about is solutions. All I'd be talking about is, here's my 6-part solution to the immigration crisis. Here's my 6-part solution to, infrastructure. Here's my 6-part solution. And I would be hammering that home because I think the idea that Bernie Sanders could have the highest rated show on Fox and go to a town meeting and then become the Democratic leader and maybe the representative and then end up losing to Trump scares the world out of the Democrats. You're going to see another hit job like you saw when he got, taken out of this realm with Hillary Clinton, that everybody's worried, even the Democrats, about him winning, while the Republicans are rejoicing. So in the end, you and I just want intelligent and thoughtful discourse, even if we disagree. And we want our youth to understand that you shouldn't blindly believe that everything that's free means it's great and will have no implication and no problems with you. And that if you do that, you're going to pay 60 or 70% in taxes. And if you don't mind paying 60% in taxes as a 20-year-old, stand up and say that. And ask Bernie Sanders why he hasn't paid 60% in taxes, because that's what he's asking everybody else to do. So, a lot of these theories just fall to the wayside. But I think you're going to see a wonderful doubling down in a way that I think is really suicidal. And I think, when you see that stuff, you just realize that it's just unfortunate that half or more of our population has been duped into believing this nonsense.
I concur. I think that doubling down on it is suicidal politically. I don't know why we can't have, first of all, the Democrats have so many people that are running for president. They got Mayor Pete and Bernie Sanders and so-and-so and so-and-so, and you just keep going down the list. And the thing about it is every single one of them seem to have the same exact opinion on everything and the same slant on everything. It would be, to me, like you said, if you're a political strategist, why don't you just take the key things that really every American is concerned about and address those and give us your ideas and move on? There has to be a little more to it than collusion, free college, free health care, free. We're going to destroy the border walls, and then we're just going to march down that typical boring Democrat path. They do it every time, and none of them seem to have any difference of opinion. It's weird. It's really odd.
The NCAA, when they had their basketball tournament, they had the giant pool, and everybody tries to pick the right winners. I think we should have a pool. We should announce it here first. We should have a pool asking who is the first Democratic potential nominee who will break from the party and say, enough's enough. Here's the things I want to talk about to better the world. I'm going to stop talking about this nonsense. I may not like the result. I may not even like Trump, but I'm going to focus on the solutions. Who's going to be the first person to do that? And I think that is really going to be an interesting thing. And I think that Trump has massively done one thing. He has baited these Democratic nominee potentials into taking these radical views against him. And I just think it is so tragic, because I don't think that people, in the Democratic Party all believe in this, no more than I think that people should not be able to wear MAGA hats out there. I think that it's just an unfortunate time in our lives right now. And I think if you asked people what their real views were, they would be a lot different than what they act like their views are, because they don't want to be attacked and politically shut down and screamed at and ousted.
If you got a question or you want to comment about what what Scott Major is talking about, feel free. I mean, hop on in. He's an attorney at law, Major Parúas, in the Storm Help Team. 850-233-9988. 850-233-9988. That's our phone number to get on the air. Their website, stormhelpteam.org. Back with more, Scott. Coming up next.
This is the Kramer Show. Kramer Show. More to come on NewsTalk at 101. The phone lines are open for you to sound off. Sound off.
This place got a telephone.
850-233-9988. This is the Kramer Show on NewsTalk at 101.
723, Scott Major with us. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. And, we've talked about hurricane stuff now for 6+ months. And sometimes, there are other things going on. And I appreciate that Scott is paying attention to those other things as well. So sometimes we'll get on a rant, and that's perfectly okay because it is a talk radio station. Ken, you're up with Scott Major. Hello.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for taking my call, and I want to say what I believe all this political stuff is talking about is what our Constitution is based on, and that is personal responsibility. Our constitutional republic was based on God, family, and country being responsible, and that's what people need to do. And when they're not, they need to be held accountable. And if these people are doing treasonous acts, they need to be held accountable for that eventually. And that may be what it boils down to. And people being responsible, if the Constitution allows for people to join the United States, not by illegal immigration, but by applying for statehood. If Mexico wants to be part of America, apply for statehood. If Guatemala wants to do that, apply for statehood. There is a mechanism. Thank you. God bless.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that it is tragic in today's society that any Democratic, Republican, or any other leader could stand up and honestly say that we don't have a crisis at the border, or that the only reason why they want illegal aliens in is because they think it will help their voting base. Anybody who says anything to the contrary is being unbelievably dishonest. And, I think that there comes a time when honesty, when morality, when core values matter, and when we have a system out there that rewards people for lying. We have a system out there that rewards people for manipulating the truth. I think our system is in need of repair. I think that we as individuals have to stand up and say, whether we agree or disagree on any issue, we will not tolerate lying. We will not tolerate moral compromise for personal gain. And I think the more people stand up and say that, the less you will see these kinds of just Cory Booker-like, Smallwood-like, open lying about things that they know aren't true. It's not like Cory Booker wasn't Ivy League educated. It's not like he's not, smart enough to know. It's not like Nagler and these other people don't know that you can't get parts of the report that are illegally prohibited from being exposed. I mean, they know this, but it's okay to lie and say that we're hiding things and doing horrible things if we don't allow the entire report to go out, because it fits their narrative rather than fitting a morality that we all aspire to be. Lord knows you and I, we have some views, but we really want truth. We really want the family unit to control. We really want values to matter. We want truth to matter, and we want to, discourage people from lying or misrepresenting for personal gain. What a terrible message we are sending by encouraging these kinds of misrepresentations and lying, and actually promoting these people, getting them in the limelight. The more radical their lie is, so long as it's against Trump or in favor of some personal agenda that gets them their 15 minutes of fame every single day.
I'll tell you another name that just, on this side of the fence that just, or on the other side of the fence that just, ugh. And every time she opens her mouth, she makes news. And I'm like, can we just please start ignoring her? And that's Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters came out, and I forgot what she called Barr, but she basically said that Barr is just a Trump sycophant. And really all that kind of stuff. In other words, none of this is ever, no matter what the report says, no matter what it says, no matter how few phrases or sentences or paragraphs are redacted, they're still going to keep kicking it down the road. And they're going to keep punching that and punching that and punching that. And if you're a Republican, you got to look at it and go, hey, knock yourself out, because it's not going to get you anywhere. It just isn't.
Yeah, I think
not
you're
to beat
right.
a dead horse, but I mean, geez.
I think it's unfortunate, when people like Maxine Waters make these radical, impeach Trump kinds of things. If you want to espouse a view, listen, she's entitled to espouse a view. I don't think it represents her constituents, but if it does, and she wants to go out and say, I have a view that is different from other people's views, that's fine. But to misrepresent or to lie and say that there's absolute collusion or that there's a cover-up or what you're going to hear in the next 12 hours from every major reporting agency that isn't in favor of Trump saying that, you see, this proves
exactly
conspiracy. This proves what a horrible person. It's just tragic. It'd be different if the only people saying it were the opinion people.
Yes,
we're the
Scott.
Coming
up on a hard break, Scott. We got a break. More to come.
This is the Kramer Show on Panama City's information station, NewsTalk at 101. The phone lines are open for you to sound off. Sound off.
This place got a telephone.
850-233-9988.
Hello? Is it me you're looking for?
This is the Kramer Show on NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major joins us today. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. His phone number, 844-800-LAWS. Our phone number, 850-233-9988. Call up, get on the air. Rex, you're up with Scott Major. Hello, good morning, Rex.
Good morning, gentlemen. A comment on the political stuff and a question storm-wise for Scott. I'd just like to thank you guys for putting out some uncommonly lucid commentary in this day and age. I'm so tired of everybody screaming, yelling, carrying on. There's no reason you can't disagree and still discuss things and get along. And that's what this country's missing. And the Democrats have created such a monster. And really, in my opinion, you come back to bite them. And, because the American people, they love an underdog. And they've made Trump an underdog. And he's not going to just lay down. He's going to come back and fight, and the Democrats will have nothing. So then on the storm front, I've got a curious situation. I'd like to ask Scott if I'm in any danger of breaking any laws or anything. So I bought a house 3 months before the storm, and it got pretty whacked, about hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage. I've been grinding away with the insurance company, and little by little get money here, money there, money here, money there. I'm tired. I'm just worn out from them, just exactly the way they want me to be. I've got enough money now. I have somebody that has come by and said, hey, I want to buy your property, and I'll give you this much money for it. Well, the amount of money they want to give me and the amount of money that I've received from the insurance company will be exactly what I paid for the house. I paid cash for the house. So I can walk away, break even, not having lost anything, not having gained anything. Am I breaking any laws? Do I have to worry about being insurance fraud or anything like that?
Okay. Well, thanks for your comment and your question. Let me deal with the hurricane question first. The contract that each of you listeners have is an insurance contract with the insurance company to pay for property damage losses. you are not required to fix your property as a condition of receiving that money. Now, there are certain situations where a mortgage company has an interest in the property, but where you own your own property or you're not subject to that, you have contracted with the insurance company to pay money, and what you do with that money is up to you. So you can sell your house, you can take the money that you're entitled to get, or fight with the insurance company to get the maximum amount of money, and then sell your property. And it's perfectly legitimate. There's nothing nefarious or improper about that, nor should anyone, think that. And so that would be my response. And in terms of your comment about, politics, I think that we've all constantly said that we just want fair discourse. Everybody can disagree. There are certain democratic views that I hold that are important to me. I'm not just all Republican or all Democrat. I just really want to make sure that our public and our youth get truth, and then they can mix in the truth with opinion. But the narrative based on falsities, I think, is unfortunate and sends the wrong message out there and angers so many of us who feel impotent to be able to do anything about it. And we feel as though we're in the minority when all we're advocating for is truth and intelligent discourse. We're trying to suppress anyone. I find it ironic that those who are preaching that, we should have freedom of speech and the desire to say what we want would go to such lengths to not only suppress truth, but to spin the narrative. You're going to see a 400-page report revealed today. No matter how many portions of it are redacted, you're going to find that the executive privilege portion that's been redacted and the grand jury testimony will be the launching pad for this fake discussion about how this is really conspiracy and collusion and the hiding of critical information. And I think that's just wrong. And to prey on the ignorance of the American people who don't know that it is illegal to put out grand jury stuff, or it is illegal to put out stuff which is subject to the executive privilege, I think is just wrong. But I have no problem with people having their own opinions about whether they like Trump or don't, or whether they think this investigation should have gone on or not. But the idea that now these people are going to do this is not only unfortunate, but I think it's going to backfire. And maybe this is a blessing in disguise, and maybe we'll look back at this and be happy that such radical, absurd views were taken that were based on falsity, because maybe it will right the ship and get people thinking about how important it is to base your opinions on some sort of intelligence, on some sort of evidence.
I love where you're going with this today. First of all, Scott, I'm more of I read politics all the time because it's what I do for a living, and I read about it. And but one other thing too, and I don't know if you're like me, but I like to kind of sit back and watch socially what's happening within politics. And here's what, just a very basic observation. You tell me what you think about this. I think a lot of people, you mentioned that, it's okay if you don't like Trump, but you have to base your political stuff off of facts. And I think what happens is people, he's very polarizing. He's just a very polarizing guy. I don't agree with everything that he tweets. I don't agree with, sometimes with, his mouth.
Right.
And I think it's he's a good president, but I don't think he's very presidential. And that can mean several things to different people. But that's just how I look at him. But I think he's doing a good job as president, and that's why we hired him. But I think you have people that just don't like him, that want to disagree with him politically, so they gravitate towards say maybe an MSNBC or Rachel Maddow or CNN or whatever, and then they base their dislike of him and try to put it into wrap it up into some kind of political crap. And I think they wind up talking themselves into believing something that they never originally believed in the first place.
I think you're right, and I think that, look at the facts. African American unemployment is at its lowest level ever. African American poverty is at its lowest level anywhere. How any African American can stand up and say that Trump is horrible and doing a horrible job, to me, is so ignorant and so silly. You can say, I don't like the person or I don't like what they do, but you can't make up facts and send our youth and our public in the wrong direction based on false information. Agreed,
100%. Talking insurance, we're talking politics. The Mueller report, all that's going to drop. They're going to have a presser at about 8:30 our time locally. Let's go to Jacob. Jacob, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Hey, Mr. Major, you're pretty genius all around here in law and
thanks, man.
Civilly.
I'll send you that check.
I had a question.
And a bag of donuts.
Exactly. Yeah, a bag of donuts. Hey, I had a question regarding my policy. Now, I did get a total loss, and in my policy I have a pretty large percentage for code and like law ordinance upgrade.
Right.
That they cover, and you just said that the mortgage obviously has interest in, it's a complete rebuild, so I mean I couldn't walk away or anything. Now, as far as the policy upgrades that they're concerned with, pretty much everything from a 1983 home is going to be upgraded. And I was wondering, you said they couldn't really drop me or drop a policyholder in bad faith or good faith due to rebuilding, and it's probably in their best interest to keep us. I was wondering, like, the time frame, because it's going to take a while to rebuild this home, given the amount of destruction in this area. Have you seen in the past, like, does it have to be the Exactimate? Because they're not really giving me a straight answer, whether I could just put it in an Excel and make sure I have the labor thing, or are they just going to kind of push that away towards the side?
So, sure. Thanks for the question. So, the way that you determine how much it costs to rebuild your home is by getting professionals to tell you what that cost is. Whether they write it on a napkin or whether they write it in some sort of program such as this insurance-based program called Exactimate is really irrelevant. What's most important is what will it actually cost you to elevate your home, add your impact windows, add your structural needs that the ordinance calls for, and to rebuild your home pursuant to what the policy provides in terms of insurance payment of money. And that's all that matters. Some public adjusters and other people use Exactimate because the software program, because the insurance company uses it. And so they perceive that if we use the same form, we're more likely to get the insurance company to pay because it's a form they understand. Using that software program is great as you make sure the numbers are accurate. Oftentimes these numbers are manipulated, and they're taking the cost of wood from North Dakota and they're inserting it into this program so that it is a lower price than what is actual. So no matter what program or procedure you use, the key is, here's how much it's going to cost to rebuild my house. Dear insurance company, I've included all the details. If you have a vendor, a contractor who you think can build it for less, who's licensed and insured, please send them over to my house. I got donuts and political talk ready for them, and have them come over. Otherwise, write me the check or explain specifically which entries you believe are not supported by law, facts, or the American way. Love and kisses you. And I'll tell you that that's really what matters.
Now, is it in that policy, because the one thing they won't give me a straight answer all around is are the upgrades covered, like, as the taxes, labor, and the materials?
The answer is yes. In fact, overhead and profit are also included as a matter of law. And again, if you're at this period of time and the insurance company is doing anything other than fully paying you all of your money, you should be filing a complaint with the state called a civil remedies notice that says, I have written 4 letters or tried 6 times, and they are refusing to tell me what the say is or what the reasons behind why they won't pay X, Y, or Z. If they'll give you an explanation, that's great. If the desk level adjuster will explain it to you, but if they give you anything outside of the English language, anything you don't understand, then they have breached their duty of good faith. I don't want to attack insurance companies. I want the insurance companies to pay what they dutifully need to pay and to not pay a penny more. But the idea that they can wait 6 months on a house that's totaled and you still don't know where you're at is ridiculous. And I hope that you'll take aggressive efforts, and if they don't pay you every dollar right now, call the 844-800-LAWS number, and we will help get you every dollar, because there's just no need for further waiting. And if they have identified something that you need to give them, then you'll give it to them.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Wish you the best of luck, and thanks a lot, and that check's on the way.
Next, Scott Major's going to share his mansion. He has a mansion, and they have a whole wing of the mansion that's just made for making donuts, and they go out and they give them to the people, and they create joy and joyous celebrations.
Power to the people.
850-233-9988, the phone number, 850-233-9988. Now, if you want to get in touch with Scott off the air, maybe set up a free consultation or just to pick his brain about something that's going on, 844-800-LAWS. More with Scott next.
This is the Kramer Show. More to come on News Talk at 101.
Love and kisses on the telephone wire. I hope he gets them in time.
Scott Major with us. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. Love and Kisses. I wonder if loveandkisses.com is taken as a domain. I'll guarantee you it is. Whatever. We need to buy that. Stormhelpteam.org. I mean, really, wouldn't it be great if we could just come on the air and go, yeah, visit the website, Love and Kisses, maybe loveandkissesu.com. Loveandkissesu.com. I'll guarantee you we could get it for $10. What do you think, man? Loveandkissesu.com?
It's not taken.
Rachel said it's not taken. We should get it.
I agree.
Free donuts for your boo.com. Let's go to Jason. Jason, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Hi, Kramer. Hi, Scott. How y'all doing this morning?
Good, thanks.
Great. How about yourself?
I had a question. I basically got to the point where I had to actually hire a public adjuster and lawyer. But at this time, I'm not getting any feedback or communication from the lawyer. And I didn't know if I had any recourse in regards to firing him after having signed the initial contract.
With lawyers, you have the right to terminate a lawyer at any time if you want. My recommendation to you would be to first call up the lawyer and try to get a hold of them and try to find out why the communication isn't occurring in the manner in which you want. But if you decide that you just aren't happy with the lawyer, our Florida bar regulations permit you to terminate a lawyer at any time, and you are responsible only for the quantum merit, that is the reasonable work they have done to date, if any, and that's determined based on how many hours they work and the value of their time. If they haven't done much on your case, then the exposure will be very low. Obviously, if a lawyer acts improperly or fails to do things which the contract provide, then you may owe them nothing. So you should take a look at that and find out what your rights are. And if you have any questions, you certainly can dial the 844-800-LAWS number, and we'll evaluate what your options are if that will help you further.
All right, great. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it.
Have a wonderful day and be well.
That brings up an interesting question. How often do you get back to people that you're representing? I mean, I know that a law firm, even a medium-sized law firm has a lot of people that they're dealing with, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot to it, a lot of moving parts. But how often is that something that you try to do, is to communicate?
I think it's fluid. I think it depends on the type of case. What we try to do is we try to get the process going so we can figure out what the insurance company is waiting on, and if it's an estimate and we're waiting on an estimate, there might be downtime associated with we can't really do much until the estimate gets back. But we try to be responsive to the clients and interact with them. And then if they have a question, we try to encourage them, as you know from the many listeners, dial the number. Dial the 844-800 Laws number if you have a question, if you're not sure what the status of your case is, if you don't know what's going on. And we always answer the phone. People are really nice at our office. They're great people. So if you find that your lawyer or your public adjuster is not responding the way you want, you try to contact them. If you don't have any success, you try to write them. If you have any success, then you need to take more strong action. We try to interact because I have every interest in getting the money to the client as soon as possible. I don't get compensated by waiting. It doesn't benefit me to wait at all. In fact, it hurts me and the client to wait. So if you find that either we or anybody you're dealing with is not responding, pick up a phone and try to figure out why. Write them if they aren't talking to you and just say, hey, what the status of my case is. And if you still don't get the success, then ask them why you shouldn't terminate them and go on to somebody else. But, we think that sometimes it takes time because you have to get things, but the most important thing is that your case is moving on, that your lawyer is doing something for you that you think is meaningful.
One more quick one. Caller, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Hello?
Caller, go ahead. You're up with Scott Major.
Yes. Caller, you're up.
Turn the radio down, please.
Yes, I've got a question for Scott about contractors. We had a old company come in. They gave us a quote. We did what you said about putting the bill the insurance directly across the top of the bill. He agreed to it. And we called the insurance company and verified that we could move forward with the mold, tearing out and all that.
Hey, you know what? We're coming up on a break, and what I want you to do is call Scott Major at 844-800-LAWS. It just kind of snuck up on us. It's been a quick hour. 844-800-LAWS to contact Scott Major. Scott, fantastic hour. We covered a lot of ground, both politically and hurricane stuff. Thank you so much, bud.
Hey, have a great day, and thanks for all you're doing for the community. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon, bud. Bye-bye.
Be well, brother.
More of the Kramer Show next. NewsTalk at 101.
It's super duper.